I learned the first three-ball cascade just right off the bat. I really just picked the three tennis balls up, tried it, and I could just do it right away. So it came pretty naturally. A lot of the tricks that I do, some of them I invented myself, some comes from watching people, some come from watching people and then elaborating and extending what they do. I never necessarily had a teacher, but a lot of it just is imagination and stuff like that, coming up with new stuff. The competition stuff, like what we're doing, is great. It shows juggling in its raw form. Like when you do a performance, for instance, a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be doing in the competition, I would never dream of doing in front of a normal audience because A, it's way too hard, and B, they wouldn't know the difficulty level of what you're doing anyway. I mean, you can do a 5-up pirouette with balls, rings, whatever you want in front of a normal audience, or you could do a 3-up pirouette and they wouldn't know the difference. So this actually, you know, when you do a 5-up, they explain what it is and how much more difficult it is, and so I think you need both aspects. I think I have the best chances of winning either the 360 competition, that's if Gina Schwartzman dies, but I also think I have a pretty good chance of winning the main event, the balls. My weakest event would have to be probably clubs. That's why I'm doing intermediates with clubs. Balls and rings have always been my strong point, and I've only picked up clubs in the past 5 or 6 years, so I mean all the stuff the other guys are doing and girls are just phenomenal. So the best juggler here, you'd have to go by props. I'd say Sergey Ignatov Jr. for rings. The guy's unbeatable. He's doing tricks I've never even seen before. They're just phenomenal. Vova Galchenko, and I'd say Toby Walker for clubs. Just unreal stuff. And probably Thomas Dietz for balls. He's just insane. The routines that I do in my show vary so much from what I'm doing here. Like I said earlier, just, you know, competition, the tricks must be a lot harder, a lot more difficult, actual technical stuff, as opposed to, you know, doing the yo-yo in the show because the audience likes it. So yeah, I put together special routines, and it's a lot different too, performing, you know, a routine for the first time. Being a performer, I feel I have an advantage because I'm used to being on stage and used to being in front of an audience. But still, when you do a brand new routine, you know, this is the first time I've actually performed these routines in front of live people. So it puts a whole new aspect to that as well. I love sports juggling. I'm a very competitive person, and I think juggling really needs this kick to get it going. The judging system, from what I've seen, I honestly don't know too much about it, but it looks like it works. I mean, the computer judging, I mean, everybody has submitted their routines, so everybody, you know, the judges know exactly what tricks everybody's going to be doing, and it kind of adds a fairness thing to it. Juggling is my #1 hobby. I love doing it. I still practice every day. There's so many professional jugglers that just work on their show, and I mean, granted, that is a big part of it. I work on, you know, my actual performance in the show a lot, but juggling is my #1 hobby, and I love it. I practice every day from 3 to 5 hours a day. It's going to be televised. It's going to bring juggling to a whole new level. The general public is going to see it, and there's no way they won't think it's cool. That's, you know, there's so many magicians like yourself who are just a household name, and juggling deserves that as well. When I first started juggling, the very first video that I ever saw was just this horrible, you know, teach yourself how to do 3-ball thing, and the guy was explaining on video how he was one of the best in the world, you know, and after about 2 months, I could do everything on this video. And so I went to the first convention literally thinking that I was the best. I was like 12 years old. I walked into the convention thinking, you know what? I'm gonna blow everybody away because I could do a Mills mess, you know? And the guy was saying, oh, this is the best guy in the world on the video. And I get there, and one of the first things I see is Garfield doing like 8 rings. And I was just like, I just wanted to go home and kill myself. So the difference between me and Garfield is the first person Garfield saw was Gatto. First person I saw was, you know, Joe No Name doing his 3-ball cascade. So I wish I would have seen juggling like this at the very beginning, and it would have just pushed me so much harder. I've exploded almost every single prop that I own. With clubs are pretty easy to break. The balls I tend to just step on, but it's so strange. My fiance laughs at me so much when I practice because in real life situations, I'm a very calm person. I hardly ever get mad. I'm collected, but when it comes to juggling, I get furious. And I don't know why I get like that, but it's the only thing in my life that just pisses me off if I can't do well. I'm so passionate about it that when I can't do it well, I want to start crying.
We're going to see you crying during the competition?
You might. So a lot of people start competing and getting into juggling, it's just going to push it up. That's all it can do. Competition makes people strive to be better. When I started, you know, 13 years ago, people that were doing just like 5 clubs were like, wow, that's pretty impressive. Now it's like everybody does 5 clubs, and if you can't, then, you know, what are you doing? I think practicing with somebody definitely helps. You know, I've been fortunate enough to practice. Jason's a good friend of mine. I'd practice with him all the time, you know, and I'd see him do something, or I'd think, you know, I'd think about something and be like, oh, that's probably way too hard. And then I'd say, hey, Jason, you know, here's an idea that I had. And he'd go ahead and do it, you know, after a couple tries or first try or whatever. And then I'd be like, oh, okay, well, maybe that's not so bad. And then you'd try it and get it a couple times later. So I think being with somebody and actually seeing it happen, it kind of pushes each other. One of my best tricks that I have in my 5-ball routine is my ass catch, where I juggle 5, throw 1, well, it's a blind catch, I guess, where I juggle 5, throw 1 ball behind myself, throw 4 up, catch it under myself, and then go back into the pattern. Also with 5 rings, I do a 5-ring blind kick where I juggle 5, throw it behind myself, and kick it back up over my head and resume juggling. Those are 2 of my signature tricks, I guess you'd say.